Kelly Bennaton, and as Laura said, I'm the new head of marketing at DHP Family. So for those of you who aren't familiar with DHP Family, we're a national concert promoter. We own several venues around the UK, so we've got Oslo and Hackney, the Borderline, our flagship venue, which is Rock City in Nottingham. We also promote lots of festivals, so we've got Dot to Dot, Mirrors Festival in Hackney, and Splendour Festival in Nottingham, and then we also book gigs. Today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about building a live audience. So the first thing I'm going to say is about... Oh, sorry, that's a picture of Splendour Festival. It rained a lot this year. So I'm going to talk to you about knowing your artist and knowing their audience. And I guess that can kind of seem a bit obvious, but when you're putting on 1,500 concerts a year, as DHP does, it's not always that easy. We promote everything from hip-hop artists like Akala, pop artists like Ed Sheeran, country bands like Jess and the Bandits. So it's a wide mix of lots of genres. So the first thing I try and do is add everything that we're doing to a Spotify playlist, which, as you can imagine, is a pretty eclectic mix, to say the least. And then once I've got kind of an idea of the genre, I'll get to conducting some research. So that's generally just looking up the band online, seeing where they've been talked about, what publications are supporting them, what kind of festivals they've played, if they've had any big support slots, and it generally just gives me an idea of where to place them. Are they a Green Man Festival kind of band or a Download Festival kind of band? And it helps you to get an idea of who their audience might be. If they've had a really good review in Uncut magazine, for example, you might want to think about placing an advert in the magazine later in the campaign, and it can also help with Facebook targeting to know sort of who they're similar to. Then I'll have a look at some social media insights to kind of identify the general demographic. So if you can get advertiser access to the band's Facebook page, that's a great way to sort of see who their general market is. So this is kind of an example, and as you can see, you can sort of see the location, the general age range, and the gender of the followers on Facebook. And I kind of use that just to narrow down my targeting when planning a campaign. So if it's a younger band, I'm not going to be targeting the over 65s on Facebook ads, and I'm not going to be placing adverts in magazines with an older demographic. So it just helps you to narrow it down a little bit. And then the next thing is kind of seeing how bands and artists engage with their fan base and what's their online presence like, how do they talk to their fans. So here's the Big Moon, who we've worked with recently, and their Instagram. So I kind of look at things like, are they emoji crazy? Do they reply to all comments on their posts? Are they pretty much radio silent apart from announcements? Seeing how bands interact on social media can give you an idea of how you might be able to utilise their social media channels and in what ways. Here's another example of some artists we're working with at the moment. So if a band is really active on Twitter, you might think about doing advertisements on there. As a general rule of thumb, I'd always probably concentrate on Facebook and Instagram because you'll see a much better return on investment. But that's not to say that Twitter doesn't have its advantages. We're working with James Blunt at the moment, and as everyone knows, he's the king of Twitter. So when we announced his tour, we did some Twitter ads, and they were really successful. And so I generally, once I've done all of my research, I'll use that to develop a marketing plan. If it's a small budget, I'll try and focus online, so your Facebook ads, retargeting pixels, YouTube ads, etc. If you've got a larger budget, then I'll look at print magazines or maybe billboards or tube adverts and things like that. But whatever the budget, it should always be driven by the research you've done on the band and their fans. And the next thing, this is a bit of a tongue twister, is accessing existing fan base. And I think a key part of that is communication with the label, the PR and management. The gig or the tour, it shouldn't be seen as a standalone thing. I think it should be seen as part of a more cohesive plan around the artist. So getting a promo plan from the label is really, really important. Seeing what singles are coming out and when they're being serviced to radio, what albums are coming up, if they're going to be on TV. All of those things are really important to know dates so that you can plan marketing around it and make a really big impact. Here's an example of Let's Eat Grandma and Jules Holland. And one thing we kind of do with that is we'll do Facebook ads after the show is aired, writing specific copy about that. And it just helps to create an audience from that. Recently, we've done a campaign with Angus and Julia Stone. Their album's out today, by the way, so you should buy it. And we've got tubes in the London Underground. So we partnered with the label, and the tube adverts advertise both the album and the date we've got with them at Brixton Academy. And it just meant we could pull resources together and get a much bigger campaign for that. Just as a side note, I would definitely recommend trying to get fresh content all the time. If you're announcing a tour in September and it's not until May of the following year, you don't want to be using the same photos and the same videos because it will just get boring. Accessing data. I know this word has been used a lot today, so I'll try and not bang on about it, but it really, really is important. If you've booked the artist before, then you should have some past booker data. So make sure that you're using that. They're your key audience. They're people that have engaged with your artist before. So contact ticket agents, ask them to do a solus email for announcement. If they can't do that, ask them for the opt-in data so you can do it yourself. Artists should be emailing their databases anyway, but it's worth making sure that that's happening. Also putting a retargeting pixel on the band's website, so just a little bit of code on the footer, in the homepage, and you can start collecting IDs. I definitely recommend doing that ahead of the announce so that you've got a pool there to start activity as soon as the announcement's made. If you don't have enough ideas right for the beginning of the campaign, then just hold off, maybe coordinate it around a single or an album release, but it's important to make sure you've got enough for a decent campaign. And then Facebook ads, if you can get access to the band's page, I would definitely recommend doing ads from there rather than from the promoter or the ticket agent or the venue, just because we generally see better engagement. I know bands can be a little bit hesitant about giving access because it's their baby, but just assure them that you'll send over any copy for approval, and if you've done your research on the band, you'll have an idea of the tone and the content that they post out anyway, so they'll be a bit more receptive to you. And then once you've got the data, just make sure you utilise it. So if you've got past booker data, do the email. And also you could upload it as a CSV onto Facebook and create a custom audience, which means you can do Facebook ads targeted directly to the audience that have engaged with your artist before. You can also put a pixel on the Facebook pixel on the website, which means you can run ads directly to people that have visited your website. So it's about getting that fan base that you know are there and making sure that you're targeting them in creative ways. And the next thing is reaching new people. So if you're working with an artist like Ed Sheeran, you kind of just need to get the word out there and people will buy tickets. But if you're working with smaller artists, you really kind of need to sell the experience. And one of the ways you can do that is being descriptive and emotive in the language that you use. You need to persuade people that that event is worth going to. Saying something like, rock band Dak play Rock City, it's not engaging, it's not enticing, no one knows the band, and I'm allowed to say that because it's my band. But so you need to use copy that's going to spark an interest. So here's a couple of ads that our venues have run before. So as you can see with Telemann, they mention End of the Road Festival, so it's about creating a connect between that festival and the artist. And then, as I mentioned before, Let's Eat Grandma on Jules Holland, and also that was a Halloween event, so we've used copy to kind of try and make it more of an event rather than just a show. And you'll notice that both of those Facebook ads use video, which brings me to my next point, using video content. That really is the most important thing for promoters at the moment. It's so important to get good video. All the promoters that I know are announcing shows and tours with video, and it's just because it's way more visually engaging than just a gig poster. If you're creating video yourself, try and keep it under 30 seconds long and make sure that you overlay it with text, so the details of the tour and where you can buy tickets. A lot of people have videos set up to play automatically in their Facebook feed, so when you're scrolling through, you're more likely to engage them with a video than you are with just a standard gig poster. If you can get your hands on some live footage as well, that really helps to convey the atmosphere and the spirit of the gig. So overlay that with text as well and use that for announcements, and it's been really effective for us in the past. utilising tastemakers. A few of those there. So if Lauren Laverne is a fan of your band, then shout about it. If you've had really great reviews, if you've been playlisted on Six Music, if you're on a really key Spotify playlist, these are the things that you want to be shouting about. So you want to add quotes to your posters, you want to be writing about it on your Facebook ads, you want to be including the stars on the video. Basically, you're trying to create a connect with publications and people that your prospective audience respect and your artist. You really want to emphasise this. The idea is to make their fans your fans. And that kind of ties in nicely to using recognisable brands as well. So teaming up with brands to make the most of their audience, collaborate with club nights, you can ask the label for some merchandise so you can run competitions on magazines, partner with clothing companies and maybe do a style Q&A, just whatever you can think of to create some original content that would benefit the brand and help you to reach their audience. We have got a show coming up in December with Peter Hook, so we collaborated with the Feeling Gloomy Club Night, who's kind of the perfect demographic for that show. They put some posters up at their events. They did a mailer for us. They've pushed the gig on Facebook in exchange for some tickets and some tickets to give away. And that's been really beneficial for us, and we can see like an increase in sales from that. We've also partnered with people like Fred Perry for our Dot to Dot festival. DIY, who partnered with us on Mirrors, and Doc Martens for Hit the Deck. So we just sought to use their existing fan base to reach a like-minded audience. I think just reach out to brands and give them a pitch. I think more and more now, music is a key strategy for brands, so now's a good time to reach out to them and just make a pitch for how you think you can provide them content and for it to be mutually beneficial. So I think I've whizzed through that. But I'll show you a quick video of one that we did for Angus and Julia Stone. That should play. Do I press again? Oh, sorry, that's really bad. I can get fucked up on absolutely anything. I'll shoot you off your feet, you will fall apart. Sweep you off the floor, God, you're drunk again. Finding in the light that somebody else's heart. So yeah, apologies, I've whizzed through that really, really quickly. But in summary, it's about knowing your artist, so doing the research on them, and making sure that you kind of know where to place them and where to place their audience. Then it's about reaching their existing fan base by using data and communicating with the wider team. And then it's about reaching new people by making creative content and seeking partnerships. So I don't know if you want to do questions or if that...
Got some time, yeah.
Okay.
Any questions, anybody? Put your hand in the air if you've got a question.
Sorry, I'm just not sure I understand. What was the Facebook thing that you were talking about that you put on the bottom of your website?
Oh,
so
the retargeting pixel.
The what?
The retargeting pixel.
Right.
Is that? It's just a piece of code, HTML code that you can put into the bottom of your website. And what it does is every time someone visits your website, you collect their ID. And so then when you've got a pool of IDs, you can put adverts through the Google network, just like the little banner ads that come up on the top of websites. So it just means that you're actively reaching people that have already showed an interest in your artist by visiting their website and making sure that those people know about the tour or the gig.
Thank you.
Hey, as a manager, how many tickets do you need to be able to sell before you approach a company like yours to take on the role of a live agent?
Well, we're not a live agent, we're a promoter. So you would obviously approach an agent first. Well, you can approach us directly. I guess it's not really the job of the band to sell tickets, it's the job of us to be able to do that. So as long as you can show that you've got a fan base and that people are interested in going to see you, the onus of selling tickets is on the promoter, really. It's just about, as a manager, you're perfecting the band and just building an audience, and then we'll build people to come and see them.
Okay, was there another question over here? No? Hold on. Great. Great. Thanks,
Cool.
Kelly.
Thank you.